Well, I'm going to talk about a series of articles, three of them across three separate issues that make up one large article out of Dragon magazine. These are this is one of my all-time favorite um, articles ever published in Dragon. It is Ed Greenwood's uh, Nine Hells articles. They begin in issue 75, they continue in issue 76, and then he finishes off all the way in issue 91, which is 15 issues later, 15 months later. Start off though by pointing out how very different these three covers are, and this is actually I like this one. I didn't like the other one that the other one I showed for Jack Kramer on his issue 79, but this is not a bad one. It's lighthearted and not overly cutesy, although it's I don't mind it being lighthearted. It's just whether it's cutesy. And then this one is a classic of Clyde Caldwell's work. All kinds of things in here that, the classic Caldwell, his Lady in Distress, his wizard summoning forth tentacled monster to attack her, or maybe it's the wizard's trying to help her. I don't know. It could be either way. It's not one of my very favorites by old Clyde Caldwell, but this is still very much in his classic style. And last is a Dean Morrissey, who is another one of my favorites. Dean Morrissey is. I actually met him when I was about 15 years old at the medieval fair in Sarasota, Florida, at the Ringling Museum, and I saw the artwork, and I said, "Hey, I've seen that artwork before," and it was stuff like this. And he said, "Yeah, that's my artwork." I'm like, "Oh, you used to do stuff for Dragon." Then he said a few things like that he didn't like working for TSR, and that's why he didn't do it anymore. So, which is unfortunate because his work is really good. This is a pretty good cover, but all of his covers I thought were really good. In fact, I remember in 3rd edition time when Dragon was being published by, at that time, of course, Wizards of the Coast, no longer TSR, one of his covers got crapped on by an editor, and I thought that was a stupid mistake. But the main thing I'm here talk about are these articles on the Nine Hells by Ed Greenwood. Now, also I do want to point out that Harn. If you've never had a chance, I know Harn's still being published. I would definitely pick up Harn if you're an old schooler. Totally worth it. Harn is a fantastic maps. At the bare minimum, you get the best maps, some of the best maps ever created for fantasy. Not only good to look at, but extremely utilitarian. And they have the ads for them in both these. I just noticed it when I had this open. But Nine Hells starts even with a ecology article, The Ecology of the Mimic by Ed Greenwood, and then Gary Gygax gets in on the fun by listing devils that would eventually appear in the Monster Manual 2. And then here we have Ed Greenwood's The Nine Hells. He gives a little background about traveling into the Nine Hells, such as through the River Styx, also the place of many of the creatures from the deities and demigods. So, and then he kicks it off with the first level, which is Avernus, ruled over by mighty Tiamat, the chromatic dragon. And these gives a list of what it's like. Darkness and at irregular intervals. Darkness is lit by fireballs, as the spells of varying size damage from 2d6 76 that form spontaneous from the vapors of the air. That's just wonderful. It's full of little things like this. But the best part, of course, coming up is the new diabolical personalities, new diabolical enemies for your players to face, new beings to build cults around. As you can see, these are pretty powerful enemies, but they are not quite the power of the archdevils. These dukes of hell and these greater devils, especially these greater devils who are deposed devils, or devils that are too problematic for old Asmodeus to deal with. He leaves them in Avernus, and I think that's kind of interesting. Again, interesting idea. And look, I mean, Ed put some real thought into this. Dis is the next level, where he has Lilith, who is the consort of Dispater, being the ruler of the second level. Ariok, a Duke of Hell. Befent, another Duke of Hell. Ariok is the Avenger, as it points out here. Also, of course, what is commonplace is have these long lists of special abilities. Every single devil and demon in first edition AD&D have a very long list of very specific special abilities. And to be completely fair, I'm not the biggest fan of this particular thing. I would have preferred something a little more straightforward. I don't know if I've ever had a reason to use, for example, Produce Flame. Produce Flame's all right. I'm not saying that's not a useful spell, but wouldn't something like Fireball and stuff like that? Though, of course, Symbol of Death here is better. But Wall of Fire, Fireball. When you're thinking about stuff that a devil could do, at least I would think I wouldn't be putting Produce Flame as one of the main things. This is not a hit on Ed Greenwood. This is him following Gary Gygax's lead on this and giving devils these sort of powers, along with far more useful ones. You see, pyrotechnics, Produce Flame. Those are okay, and they do get to use them at will, basically, and fulfill another one's wish. Classic. These are great. But what I'm saying is, for these lists of powers are fine, and they make the character powerful, but the big problem is cognitive load. That when you're running this monster, and as a monster, when the party is actually gonna face down this creature, how many of these powers are you gonna remember? And then got to keep in mind that if the party is facing down this devil, he's probably got a bodyguard of some other hell spawn. His ability to summon, he will summon for aid, so he is able to carry, have Aranyas. I don't know I've never known how to spell that, and spine devils come to his assistance. So you might have many other types of devils if you're facing him, and each one is fairly complicated. It's not as easy to run as, say, a Minotaur or a Orc. because of all these lists of powers. However, if you can keep all this stuff in mind, they tend to be very formidable opponents. The ability to produce flame, it is nice to know that they can read magic. So I guess that means that they can use scrolls. So that makes them even more powerful. You equip Buffon here with a couple scrolls of lightning bolt or a couple scrolls of chain lightning. All of a sudden you have a different thing. But also I think the read magic though is intentional to that they can read spell books or something like that, or it seems like something that a devil should be able to do. I tend to agree, but I don't know why the huge lists of special abilities has always gotten on my nerves, just because of they're so specific. Instead of just giving, say, hey, they can cast magic user spells up to say up to 5th level magic user spells, and any spell 5th level and lower that is a fire spell they can cast at will, or something like that. And then also give them the ability, it would be a little bit easier, or any cleric spells that are up to 5th level they could also cast that are fire related. So they could do flame strike. I don't sorry about the coughing there. Suddenly have to clear my throat. But yeah, I don't. It's always been one of the things I didn't like because of how I loved having them. And then if you ever look at the first edition Planetar or Solar, and you want to see a list of incredibly huge list of special abilities there that dwarfs even these very powerful devils and their demonic counterparts. It makes them more difficult to run, in my view. Meriadoc, another Duke of Hell, has a similar list of powers, as does Alucard, another Duke of Hell. These are all servants of Dis. They all have positions within the court of Dispater, the father of Dis, and third plane of hell is ruled over by Mammon. The plane is the value exists long in this plane before being destroyed or taken inside the walls of his many-pillared fortress, which makes sense. Mammon would be the guy. So Monaros is the plane of Mammon. Mammon's fog-shrouded air, disease. Each little plane has its own little thing going on. Fortress of Mammon is the only building of any sort on Monaros. In the marshes, Mammon allows stone to be used only in cells. He tries to give each plane its own personality. He gives servants to Mammon that are appropriate to him, as he gave Dispater those who are servants who are more like him, are more appropriate to him. Phlegethon, good job, Darren. Phlegethos, the fourth plane of the Nine Hells, ruled by Belial, and his tortured realm of volcanoes and gouting fire, appropriately Inferno-esque. This plane perhaps most visited of the Nine Hells, except for Avernus, since outsiders who work magic often come to the fabled fireballs of Phlegethos, where rivers of fire tumble in the volcanic ridges down to the cleft mentioned in many alchemists' mages. Magic items. The best flame-tongued swords are made in such places. One account of the making of the Helm of Brilliance mentions such sight. The barbed devils themselves seem to attract such falls of flame, leaping and playing about fireballs and employing their produced flame powers as if excited. Again, wonderful. Just wonderful descriptions. I always thought he did a good job on this. Again, another princess of hell, another lovely, evil-looking, diabolic seductress. Uh, Naomi, I assume that's how you pronounce that. Naomi is a short, burly, middle-aged female devil with long brown hair and cold, pale, blue-green eyes. She's a tinkling laugh and surprisingly light, easy sense of humor. Quick-witted and glib-tongued. I mean, the old boy put some effort into this. He wasn't. He's old now. He was pretty young when he wrote this. Much younger than I am now. But look at what a great, what a fantastic series of descriptions he has here. Same thing continues on through Stygia. Fifth plane of hell derives its name from Styx, the mighty river of black, opaque water that falls from the endless encircling mountains and swells vast salt swamps. Sounds like an absolutely horrible place. And Geryon, one of my favorite devils, at least especially his depiction in the Monster Manual. I always thought Geryon looked particularly cool. Another princess of hell, another what would it be, the consort for the king of this plane. Herodias, a duke of hell. Herodias serves as magistrate and is a devil of great pride and ambition. Large, portly Herodias has a humanoid body with scarlet hue and massive muscled arms. And again, here's the large list of special abilities he has, including the ability. I hate that showed up there. Let me, if I do it this way, maybe it won't. There we go. Once per day, he can disintegrate one creature or item up to twice his own size. Twice per day, he can feeble mind. Symbol of hopelessness. Summon 1 to 4 bone devils. He's formidable. And Cosby, kind of a funny name at the time. I always thought Cosby was kind of a funny name for a female demon. And of course, even at the time, all I thought about was, Bill Cosby. Now, Bill Cosby, the idea of Bill Cosby being in hell sounds a little more appropriate lately, but Macallus, a Duke of Hell. Macallus, a Duke commanding 11 companies of barbed devils at the direction of his master Geryon. Macallus. Okay, let me pronounce this properly. Macallus appears tall, thin, humanoid with black, scaly skin, a forked tail, black cloven hooves, and large bat-like wings, large jaw, 2d4 damage in combat. Nimble flyer, wields a +2 axe or normal spear. These are great characters. And this continues on in this volume with again another ecology with the Beholder, a monster that Ed Greenwood seemed to love as much as any monster ever. This also has the Death Master. Speaking of demonic or diabolic creatures, this was a necromantic, like a super necromancer, created by our Leonard Lakofka, and is I allowed them, even though he specifically goes in not allowing them, I allowed a few Death Masters in my game as player characters. They didn't last very long. But it was, but here's the Nine Hells continued with Malbolgia, the sixth plane ruled by Beelzebul, through his viceroy Moloch. Beelzebul's own abode is not on this plane. Of course, he rules the sixth and seventh plane. He is easily the second most powerful devil after Asmodeus, though, of course, Mephistopheles, the ruler of the eighth plane, is also mentioned here. So clear that he got that he already got some, probably an advanced copy of Monster Manual 2, because he does mention a lot of stuff straight out of Monster Manual 2 here. Another Princess of Hell is good old Lilith. Beautiful, curvaceous female of giant stature, save that her eyes are glowing white pupils and all. Her skin is crimson. Sounds like a character right out of a comic book. Or serpent's tail, small curving horns. I can definitely see there being some very, very nice cheesecake art for this particular Princess of Hell. Maladomini, the seventh plane of hell, is also ruled by Beelzebul, who dwells here in a great fortress of black stone. Malagard. Just wonderful. Again, Barbados, the Duke of Hell, Abagor, Baptis, Zapar, another Duke of Hell. And again, the lists, Neabaz, or Neabaz, don't know. Then Cana, the frigid eighth plane. This is Mephistopheles, the mighty lord of no mercy, or the cold lord. The one devil who seeks to supplant Asmodeus in the nine hells. And his consort is Balfegor, consort of Mephistopheles, and the most highly regarded she-devil. Personally attractive. Again, another wonderful bit of cinnamon brown skin cheesecake. He does take delight in describing these wonderful she-devils. And of course, as a adolescent reading these, very much in tune with Mr. Greenwood's descriptions. He tends to give some pretty amazing descriptions, both to the seductive she-devils and the extreme and the barbaric and frightening he-devils. And last, we get to Nessus, the ninth layer. The lake Cocytus lies far from the palace of the Overlord, high up in a bowl of rocks surrounded by crags. So yeah, again we get to Nessus, the vast, gloomy ninth plane. Inhabits a grand palace, a fey court of darksome beauty. I believe there is a module that got published that actually goes through where you have to escape from Asmodeus. Go through Asmodeus's fortress. Forgot what it was. It was definitely not a TSR thing, but I remember reading a review of it, if I believe correctly, in the Prince of Nothing's website. And yeah, this Asmodeus, the last place you'd want to be. Wonderful with Bensozia, the Queen of Hell, and of course Glacia, who is in Monster Manual 2, is the princess. Is another Princess of Hell, and Dramalok, the Chancellor of Hell. Wonderful. Fongor, the Inquisitor of Hell. God, it's wonderful. Just absolutely magnificent. These personalities and creatures. And then here's the effect. Here's the other thing I don't like about planar travel. Quite apart from the fact that I don't really love the planar cosmology of the so-called Great Wheel. It's this. Why, and all these spells get so many exceptions. Command is ineffective against greater devils. Okay. A way detect evil works. Maybe some notes about that is cool. But I do not I do not love this big long list of here's all the spells that have been changed. You'd think there'd be more of uh, a general list of or a general ruling on how spells work in the outer planes, on each outer plane. But no, it's an entire go through the entire spell list and specifically say how they work. Um, Another minor thing here is this ad. This ad right here for Midkemia Press. This stuff's available now on drive-through, and I would recommend anyone getting a look at it, even though it's not exactly written for D&D. It is definitely old school, and just seeing the ad here, just noticed it and was like, yeah, well, if again some old school stuff. I have the Towns of the Outland, the Black Tower, Tulin of the Isles. Yeah, that's some old school goodness from Midkemia Press. Anyway, but yeah, I don't really like these long spell lists. Again, now that you have magic item alterations, and eventually use such a potion exploded when struck by a fire wind will while fleeing across the river Nessus. Companions of the lost ones say the fire wind appeared to drawn to the gas, which is cool. But are you going to really remember all this stuff when you're running this? I don't know. Tracking ability of Rangers completely lost in the Nine Hells. That's fine. No cleric, regardless of alignment, deity can turn away or command into service any devil while in the Hells. Undead, etc., will be affected normally. Let's say it's again. That's more general. They could have. I think they could have had that for the spells in general, for each type of I don't know. It just, to me at least, it seems like it was a little too. This stuff is a little too much detail, and I don't know how useful it is in actual gameplay. But we come to the end of the second part, and this is the bulk of the thing. But it would be revisited in this issue, which again has an ecology written by, and then also it has again. Gary adds some demonic flavor by adding the Garistro, a gigantic super demon, 24-foot tall super demon that gets 20 hit dice and an extra 6 hit points per die. So that's 20d8 plus 120 hit points. That is a big monster. That is a big, tough monster. Some stuff about height and the ecology of Lucrata. I just want to point out this is probably my favorite ecology of, for some reason. I think it was one of the first ones I ever read all the way through I always loved Lucratas because of Ed Greenwood's this article by Ed. Lucratas appear a lot, it seems like, in random encounters and stuff in the Forgotten Realms, and I always loved that too. But here, more facts about Devildom. He gives all the demonic names, and here is the handy pronunciation guide that I ignored completely. Dispater, Titivolus, and Dromalek. I did pronounce that correctly. Agares. But here these are like the renegade devils. Resolver of Enchantments, Amaros. Okay, so but we get to the one that I most wanted to point out. Not just Dagon, who's a pretty cool. But there's also a devil named that. Again, a whole bunch more personalities here, but he does have. Does he have? There he is. Gargoth. Gargoth would be the Lord who Watches. He was is a major bad guy in the Forgotten Realms. He is in the Forgotten Realms. He is the, what is it? The Servants of the Shield or whatever. There's a secret order that's built around this deceiver, the Lord who Watches, sometimes referred to as Astaroth. name properly applied to a demon prince of great power, once a mighty power in the hells, second only to Asmodeus himself. For untold eons, however, he has resided elsewhere. I bring him up not just because of his, because he's a pretty groovy character, and also because he's in the realms, but also he was super. I had him early in my campaigns when I was a young DM. He was the main demon that I had as opponent. The main diabolic opponent I had for PCs. He would be. I liked Gargoth as a enemy for the PC, and clearly so did Ed Greenwood. Obviously, I wouldn't have put him in if I hadn't read this. So Ed Greenwood put him into use, and then servants of the devils, excellent bit of work here, and also he talks about what are the treasures of the treasure types, classic D&D stuff. The natures of devils, how to get, traveling the river Styx. This was a really, and then he ends up with 8 devilish questions, like how large is a company of devils, how are they organized, spells in hell. A magic user spell rope trick is said to reach an adjacent plane, the hell's extra-dimensional space. Does it reach higher level or lower one? They've got the kind of minutia that we gamers often want to ask about this stuff. Though personally, I rarely wanted to get official. I would just rule on this stuff. Even as a young man, I took the job of ruling on these kind of rules very, very seriously, and I still do. As a game master, I figure it's my game. I should rule on this. And not necessarily, even if I read something in here that contradicted me, would I change my mind. Usually I ruled on something the way I thought it should be, and didn't change my mind just because sage advice or something else gave some sort of an official ruling. So this is also one of my favorite articles because of this. The treasure trove. As some people may have watched my video on the Encyclopedia Magica, a lot of the stuff from Encyclopedia Magica came out of the treasure trove. Some of it first appeared here, like the magic. Some of the magic swords here appeared in a previous, like the what is this one? The Sword Demon Bane. There was a separate article by Ed Greenwood that had special weapons, special swords from his from the Forgotten Realms. Of course, this is before they were ever published, and the Forgotten Realms, as presented in Dragon Magazine and in early first edition, is a much more intriguing place than the over detailed and the version that developed over the course of second edition through third edition, and now on into fifth edition. I really do like the sort of sword and sorcery vibe of these early articles and of the early, which is funny, of the early supplements, and which is funny that intentionally starting with the gray box set, the place of the gods in the setting was de-emphasized, and that was a big part of what was created there, is that to de-emphasize the sort of gods meddling in the affairs of mortals, which is so funny considering that starting the second edition, that became so important. There ended up being, it became de rigueur to just their gods were constantly interfering, and there were so many NPCs who were servants of gods, even if they weren't priests. There was always somebody who was this or that god's chosen, and Mystra had like 15 chosen going around all at once, it seemed like. But this is a pretty good, and then also this is one of the first articles to have one of the first issues to have an Ares section after TSR bought SPI, which was a Wargaming. I think they published. I think they were. I'm pretty sure they were the publishers of Ares magazine. Just became part of Dragon, where it would slowly die, even though it's a. And it here has Marvel File. The other thing, I actually learned more about Marvel Comics from Marvel File than I ever did from reading the comics, since the only comic I really loved by Marvel was Savage Sword of Conan. So I was never a big comic book guy, although I did have Marvel superheroes. Anyway, but those 3 articles by Ed Greenwood and these 3 issues, again, they're all available on the Internet Archive. You can Google them up, see what they are. But I do have good, solid memories of these 3 issues. And I bought this one. I don't know when I bought this one, but I know I bought this one first. And I'm pretty sure I got 75 and 76 at a hobby shop in Victoria, British Columbia, when I was on vacation. And they had a bunch of back issues of Dragon. And I bought them with my great grandmother gave me a bunch of money to buy these, and of course I read them starting back to back right then. But I had this one first, so I probably picked these 2 up somewhere around 1988 when I was 16 years old. But anyway. These are, again, some of my favorite Dragon magazines, and these are some of my favorite articles. I just want to put spotlight on them. I'm not just these are again not just Dragon issues that I'm just going through. These are all stuff I use still in my day-to-day in my campaign. Also, trying to point out that that Dragon is a huge resource for old school game masters to plumb its depths. There is a vast amount of information and really creative ideas from a lot of really great writers. I'm going to get into there's a Dragon issue which I will get to eventually that is about how amazing. It has an amazing backstory on the Illithids, on the Mind Flayers, and their description of the world they come from. And I think it's an excellent bit of lore. It was not carried over into later. It did not become part of the official lore of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Did not carry on into 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th edition, but it's a slightly different take, and could definitely be used to surprise a few of your more jaded players. Also, there's just some really good writing. A lot of good writing in these are done by Ed Greenwood and, of course, Roger Moore, who, as far as who also wrote a lot of the articles that aren't under their names because they needed to fill up. Content in some of these issues. I don't know what names they wrote under that were not their own, but I talked to Roger Moore at Gen Con when I was in my early 20s, and he talked about that a little bit. But yeah, just Ed Greenwood and Roger Moore, though not only like Louis Pulsifer and Carl Sargent and a bunch of other really good. Some of these guys would write some really important things for 2nd and 1st edition D&D, and some of them that would design some really great games outside. Ken Ralston, for a long time, does the game reviews in here. Ken Ralston ended up doing. I'm not sure exactly what, but he ended up doing some design work for the Elder Scrolls games, and he did stuff for RuneQuest, but he did game reviews in here, and there's a guy who had a serious mind for analyzing games. Just the game reviews can help you out too, or lead to new ideas, or lead you down towards old games that had interesting ideas. Anyway, that's the main reason why I do these reviews of these Dragon magazines, because of how often I use them. And I use Dragon more than I do Dungeon reviews, because I've always found other people's written adventures to be less useful to me than more general information, new monsters and new magic items, new spells, and new ways of running campaigns. And that's why I would encourage anyone to get a hold of some of these, especially now that they're free and online. But that'll be enough for today. If you did like this video, please like and subscribe.